Awesome. Great. Wonderful. Thank you for showing up this evening. It is really fun to see you and to not talk to myself. So please feel free to stay off mute. I'm Chef Peggy. I work with Feast. I am a longtime cooking teacher. I've worked for some of the big kitchenware stores, and I'm in California. I've worked for a grocery store chain that has a wonderful cooking school embedded inside of it. And I currently now work in the corporate world training chefs, which is really nice because it's not a 7-day-a-week business. And I really appreciate not having to work like 7 days a week. And this is great fun getting to come into your kitchen or whatever part of the house you're in to make cocktails. Sometimes we cook and sometimes we make cocktails. So this class tonight, we are talking about things that would be great for New Year's Eve, but these are actually things I drink, actually all year round. 2 of our drinks tonight are set up ahead and not have to worry about them. So on one hand, I like one of them just to have in the freezer for, if I've had a bad, not even a bad day at work, if I've had, a day, I can just pour it out, right? It's just ready. A punch is always fun. It's a little retro, and that trend is really coming back. And then we're going to cap it all off with an espresso martini, which is in California, at least. I don't know, and I'm pretty sure in New York, I don't know how far it's reached. It is the drink, and we'll talk about before dinner and after dinner, versions of that. So, if you have any questions along the way, please just ask. Feel free to just ask. I am here to answer questions. I love to answer questions. And I'm sure there's something that you will think of that I didn't think about including, and I don't know everything. You might know more than I do about whiskey because you're there in Kentucky. So
bourbon country.
Yeah, bourbon country. Yeah. I don't know why I live in California sometimes. Anyway, all right. I want to start with the punch because I want to show you one of my favorite cocktail ingredients, and it actually doesn't even have to be for cocktails. I really like it in all sorts of drinks, like just in sparkling water or iced tea. And that is this, it's called, I didn't put it in the recipe in the name. It's called oleo saccharum. So it's oleo is oil, saccharum is sugar. It's got this fancy bartender term, but it's basically citrus peels that you put in sugar.
Okay.
So in about a half an hour, you start to get the liquid, which is the essential oil and some of the moisture getting pulled out of the citrus peels into the sugar, and it makes a really liquidy concoction. And so I'm just going to switch cameras here real quick. I have they look the same on my camera right now. I've got an orange and a lemon. So the recipe is calling for 4 lemons and 4 oranges, and that is enough to get you enough of the oleo saccharum for a pitcher of punch. But it's kind of boring to just keep peeling citrus on camera. So I'm going to do 2 of them, and I've lost my peeler. Here it is. And then I've got a little pile here that I started from the other ones, and I've got a little sugar here. So what I'm going to do is just put those in there to get started while I peel the others. I love these Y peelers. They're very inexpensive. They're really sharp, and you can really get a nice citrus peel. So when I turn it over, I've got mostly the zest and not the white pith on the bottom. And if you ever come across and my orange is going to be this way, it's a little bit harder to peel.
How much sugar are you putting in there? Just a little bit?
So a half a cup for 8 citruses.
Okay.
8 citruses. That doesn't sound right. 8 pieces.
And I was going to say, is it like 2 and 2, or is it like?
So I have 4 and
total?
4. 4 and 4. Yeah. I set one up earlier that I'm going to show you, and I'm just doing this little demo one.
Sounds
so
great.
I have a tangerine tree, which I decided to use instead of buying some oranges, and they're a little harder to peel. And sometimes you find that with citrus. And so if you just zigzag this peeler back and forth like that, it still works really well. So if you have an orange that's kind of in its last days, and you know how they get kind of mushy, you can still get the peel off.
I'm peeling we have an orange and a lemon.
Great. And you can totally scale this. So the recipe calls for 4 lemons, 4 oranges, and a half a cup of sugar. And that's going to make quite a bit. I'll show you in just a second. It's going to make 4 cups plus a little bit of punch, which is like 6 to 8 servings or more. So if you just wanted to make a couple servings for you all tonight, that's pretty easy. And I just picked a little ball jar that I had here. So I'm going to cut my citrus peels just so that they fit in there pretty well. And really the only process, and maybe this was not the ideal bowl. I'm going to just grab another little bowl here so you can see better. I think this has a better contrast. So I've got that sugar. Because I'm doing kind of a half batch, I have a 1/4 cup of sugar instead of half. And you could use a spoon. I happen to have a little wooden muddler thing here. I use this for a bunch of different things. But just the back of a spoon or a spatula, any kind of I have these little spatulas I'm in love with. They're really great for pressing. So really what you want to do is just to help get it started, just kind of push it in. But if you were planning ahead, you could just put this in a Ziploc bag or, I don't know, any kind of a Tupperware container and just let it sit. You don't have to monkey with this too much if you have time.
You can just let it hang out.
You can just let it hang out and it's going to do its thing. And that is exactly what I have. Let me show you side by side. This is the one I did about an hour ago while I was setting up.
Oh, interesting.
So this is the same exact thing. This is actually double, this one, the glass bowl one. And check how much liquid has come off of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And that is the best tasting. It's so strong. It's actually making my mouth kind of water. It smells really good. You can do this with any citrus peel. So if you have lemons, or grapefruits, anything that you had sitting around that you wanted to use up. And then this liquid lasts for a really long time in the fridge because the sugar keeps it shelf stable. I tend to keep mine in the fridge and not on the counter because little molds sometimes grow on the counter. But so that is what it will look like after it's hung out for a little half an hour.
We just peeled an orange and a lemon.
Perfect.
And stuck it in some sugar.
All right. So we can let ours sit, together, mine and yours. We can see how soon we get this and we can set up the rest of the punch. And when it's ready, we can add this delicious ingredient. We're going to use a little bit of it. I can show you one of my favorite little champagne cocktail tricks at the end. I like to keep some of, I got one up top. I like to keep a little bit of this in the fridge in a ball jar just for, just cause. And living in California, I'm kind of lucky. I don't have a lemon tree, but my neighbors all have lemon trees and they all hang over the fence.
I was going to say, my grandparents used to have a place in California and they had a grapefruit tree out front. And I think a lemon tree a couple doors down. Mm-hmm. We don't do it. We can't really grow those things in Kentucky.
No, I understand. I grew up in St. Louis, so I know exactly where you are.
Freezes a little too much sometimes.
Yes. Well, when I moved out here and realized I might not ever have to buy a lemon again, and lemons can be $1 each, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So
okay, so we're going to set our stuff aside.
We'll just set that aside. And so now so it sounds like you're doing kind of maybe a half or a quarter batch.
Yeah, that's what we kind of figured was we would do so we did some in a glass. And
all right.
We also figured if we came to this class tonight, then if we really liked it, then we would be able to do other things later.
Absolutely. Well, that is always my goal, no matter what class, if it's cooking or drinks, that you will want to do this later.
Yeah.
And I always hope that you will. And I'm actually making the full recipe because my adult kids are home for the holidays, and I'm confident in the next 2 nights this will have an audience. So, all right. So I have some cinnamon sticks. The recipe calls for 4. So I've got 4 cinnamon sticks in there.
Okay.
And then I have some candied ginger. So these things are going to give us an aromatic base, kind of like when you cook savory food, you've got your onions and your garlic and your herbs. This is going to give us a really lovely background flavor. And I'm going to cut it up a little just to get the edges exposed. And also because I'm not going to strain this out, if you're lucky, you might get a little piece in your drink, which always makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Little ginger, little citrus. We could call this an immunity punch, but I didn't want to scare anybody off.
But it's probably like that.
Well, it certainly is. The vitamin C and everything, and then the bourbon. It's going to cure you. Sore throat. Drink this. So I'm just going to put that in my picture here. So I've got my candied ginger. Now, if you don't happen to have candied ginger, if that was hard to find, you can use fresh ginger, a little grated fresh ginger, or the powdered ginger.
Fresh ginger. We have both of those things. I was like, we have both of those things.
Yeah.
Candied ginger we did not have, but we have like minced ginger.
Yes, yeah, that would be fine. And then if you find you need a little extra sweetness, you can put a little extra sugar in. The candied ginger has a lot of
ginger's
sugar.
in the fridge.
Yeah.
She's saying, where's the ginger?
And it'll
we have
give you
powdered ginger also in the cabinet, but I think we have like fresh ginger in the fridge.
Yeah, if you have fresh or minced ginger, that's going to give you a better heat. But the powdered ginger would mix in really nicely too. And the same with cinnamon. If you didn't have sticks, you could absolutely just use a little sprinkle of powdered cinnamon.
Yep, that's I think what we're going to do.
Perfect. And
we're going to make note that fresh cinnamon sticks might be.
Well, they're kind of fun to find. And then sometimes when you get them in bulk, and then you've got to find something to do with them all.
Yes.
So you don't get a ton of cinnamon flavor off the cinnamon stick. It's really kind of a nice, like a look and feel sort of thing. So don't put more than a sprinkle in, especially if you're doing a reduced batch, just maybe a quarter teaspoon, a little sprinkle in there. All right. And then I have tea. So I am using regular straight up black tea. Like I didn't have tea bags, but I had some, the ginger got out there. I had some loose leaf black tea and I brewed it double strong.
Okay.
So I'm going to pour it in there, but it's just some nice iced tea. If you have good old iced tea, I tend to brew my iced tea strong because, then the ice dilutes it and I want it good and strong. I might even go out to McDonald's and get an iced tea for this. I love their strong tea. They really are great at tea.
That's my wife's favorite is the strong tea. But I think the cinnamon might or might not be square.
The container, square.
Not I can find it. Sometimes the spices are in weird places in our cabinet.
It happens. They get pushed around and forgotten about sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight they'll get some love. That's good. Okay, and now I'm going to put in my my whiskey. Let's see if this is actually bourbon because I know. Yep, it says Kentucky Straight Bourbon, but it is not a fancy pants brand. It is a very.
Evan Williams is a good brand. It's good. Yeah,
I would definitely drink. Well, my favorite drinks are bourbon drinks.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to get the cinnamon.
Okay, perfect.
Good. The ginger's in the door of the fridge.
A miracle happened. The cinnamon uncloaked itself.
Huh?
I said the cinnamon uncloaked itself. It's a miracle.
Yep. And the tea. Yeah. Thanks. I was wrong. It's not square.
Oh,
I'm looking for a square.
I wonder it's hard to find.
Square.
There you go. Just a sprinkle's good.
Okay, sprinkle of cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. And
squeeze ginger.
Yeah.
And some tea.
The ginger. And some tea. And already it would be a delicious thing to drink, right?
Yeah.
You'd probably just go for that.
All of those things are good things. What's funny is I'm realizing that I pulled off, even though we have a gazillion kinds of bourbon, I pulled off an Indiana version of it, not a Kentucky version of it. You got whiskey. Because I was like, it's the only thing that says whiskey on the label is it's the Indiana version.
Well, it's very close, like my great grandparents were out of Kentucky into Indiana. I think the borders were all over the place. So.
Well, yes, and my Grace actually teaches in Indiana. Like that's how close we live. I'm like, I think we live on the line in Louisville.
Super
so
close. Nice.
Some tea, just a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right.
So,
so if I put in like this much tea in our pitcher, is that about right?
Yeah, that's about right. That looks like it's about maybe cup and a half, 2 cups.
Yeah.
So your guideline is going to be one about equal parts bourbon and tea if you want the full strength drink. Now, this is where I really love this recipe, which is that it can absolutely be a completely non-alcohol beverage. If you have people that are coming over, or you've got, people who, for whatever reason, they're not choosing to drink that night, You can make this with just the tea.
Okay.
You can make it half and half. I like it half bourbon, half tea. Or if you wanted to have it just a kind of a light alcohol, like you're like, okay, I need a little something, but I don't want to, get too much. You can go lighter on the bourbon. You can do however you want to, however you want to go. But originally it is half and half. So I'm going to I have 2 cups of tea. So I'm going to do 2 cups of my bourbon. And boy, I'm glad I got the Kentucky one tonight. I should have pulled off the.
It's all good. We would have forgiven you one way or the other.
Oh, thank you. We actually have this great restaurant in my town, my little town here, called Quality Barbecue and Bourbon. And I think they have like, I don't know, 150 or 200 different bourbons.
Oh, nice.
They do tastings and that's fabulous. I had to smell the cup. It smells good. It's not expensive, but it's really nice.
Well, Evan Williams.
Oh, I like
Evan Williams is good.
That's good.
Yeah, it's this
Good,
one.
simple
So,
bourbon.
so we do a lot of bourbon tastings with friends, and we always laugh because what's the one that you and I like that everybody always picks in the bourbon tasting that we laugh about?
Yep. Can't think of it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you'll think
there's
in a
one that's
minute.
like not at all fancy. It's
Cheap.
super cheap, and we'll do like
$8.
bourbon tasting, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's the best one." And I'm like, "Okay, so you have like your super expensive bourbon, and then you've got this one that's really cheap."
It's the one that
Yeah.
tastes good, right? We talk about this in cooking classes a lot. It's like, do you want your food to look good or taste good, right? I
Yeah.
want it to taste. I want my bourbon to taste good. And
That's right.
I think sometimes, I talk a lot about, and when we do the bottled one, the Negroni one, we put a little water in there because the water wakes up the alcohol, right? Like if
Yeah.
it's too strong. So sometimes those high-end bourbons are just like, woof, man. Anyway, so does smell good. So if you think about it, let me know. That way I'll know.
Oh,
which
early
to-
times.
to
That's it.
aim.
Early
Early
times.
I hear it rates very highly. Early
Early
times.
times rates very highly
Yeah.
among
Well,
people.
I mean-
It's a very cheap bourbon.
Very cheap.
Taste wise. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to put about 10 dashes of bitters in.
Okay.
And I have straight Angostura. I also have some orange bitters, which I really like. And since we're putting orange in the drink
Yeah.
too, you could go either way. You can do whichever one you like.
Good orange on the thing.
Sometimes I only have one. Ooh, that came right out. 2, 3, 4.
Gotta open this one though. I think this one's hard to
That's a big-
open, man.
I buy the large bottles of bitters because I like to drink it in club
Mhm.
soda. Just,
Oh, I never thought about that.
yeah. It's just, as again, on a night where I
Not
just feel
bad.
like I want something in, something tasty,
get
but
it.
not too high in
I can tell that
alcohol.
We've used this. She said she uses both, but she sometimes uses this if she's using.
Yeah. You could use a little bit of both.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to get a little spoon just to stir with here.
You said like 10 dashes?
So for the full recipe, 10 dashes. So you're doing probably, I'd say you've got about a half a recipe, so maybe 5 dashes.
Okay.
All right. And then we can do a little taste. Let's see what I'm going to taste in here. I think I'll taste in here. I just want to taste it before we add our liquid from our citrus, but maybe your liquid hasn't come yet, so we'll see. So now,
Okay.
the longer this sits in the fridge, and you can make this up to, 5 or 6 days in advance. So it's kind of like having a pitcher of iced tea in the fridge, except for, oops, it's had a little bourbon in it.
We'll have to tell the kid not to drink it.
Yeah, just put this is the grown-up iced tea, and that's the one for you. So my sugar is starting to get kind of melty. I've got a little, but we've only had a few minutes here. I don't
Yeah,
really
ours
have
is
any-
starting to get a little bit like that. I
Yeah,
can tell. It's amazing. I didn't know it would do that.
yeah. And the longer mine sits, the juicier it gets. It just is
Yeah.
really nice. So we can wait to add that toward the end. We can have this all set up and we can taste it once you've added that. So we can give it another, let's make the other drink and come back
Okay.
and see how much your sugar's dissolved.
Yeah.
You can hurry this around a little bit if you microwave it in little gentle bursts, like 20 seconds, give it a stir, 20 seconds, because you don't want to cook the peel,
Okay.
but you can help melt the sugar a little bit.
Well, and
that-
ours is, but here, ours is doing, like, ours is looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, yours is looking great. Yeah, so you've got a nice container for yours. I like the fact that you've got that tall container. If I kept mine in my jar, it might look a little better.
Yeah.
It was harder to see,
It seems to be pretty.
Pretty
I had
liquidy.
no idea it would do that.
right?
Kind of fun.
It's the coolest thing. Let's give it a couple more minutes though, because you'll have enough to pour off into your punch at that point.
Okay.
So this punch, you have the option of just drinking it as is on ice or chilled. You can also pour sparkling water or wine on it too. So there's lots of options that go around for that.
And this. Oh,
All right. So I'm just going to set it aside for a moment and we'll
Okay.
talk about our Negroni, which Negroni's having quite a little social media moment.
Yeah, it kind of is.
With Prosecco. So I have an empty bottle that I'm going to store mine in. And I actually, this is a great recycled. I found a wine at the store in this, and it fits in the freezer really nicely. So
Nice.
I'm going to keep my batch in the freezer. All right. So you can bottle this and give it as a gift. It's a really nice party gift to bring.
Okay.
So if you're going to someone's house for New Year's Eve,
That'd be
you
kinda
can bring it and they can drink it that night or save it. But also if you just want to keep it for yourself in the freezer, it's really nice to have on hand. So the great thing about a Negroni, and let me just come back, is it's a very easy cocktail to remember the proportions. It's 1-1-1. So it's 1 part gin, and we'll talk about that in a second since you're not a gin lover. 1 part sweet vermouth, which gives it some sweetness, and then 1 part Campari or something bitter. So there's lots and lots of choices these days for things like Campari. There used to only really kind of be, Campari and Cinzano, but now there's, you can find Aperol, which is a little sweeter, a little more orange, but you could use Aperol. I have found there is this Campari, let me turn it that way, made in Colorado by this company called Leopold Brothers. And it is, if you see the color difference, Campari has some artificially colored ingredient in it, and the Leopold does not. So if you happen to be somebody who likes cocktails but doesn't like artificial colors for whatever reason, the price is really about the same.
And we can look for it when we go.
Yeah. And it's if you like bitter, and I like bitter flavors. This is one of my favorites.
I asked we have Campari, and I went to get it, and our person at our wine shop that we always go to, they have that and Aperol. And I was like, okay, which one is are these the same thing? And that's what they said was that the Campari is a little more bitter.
Yeah.
Aperol, which is a little sweeter.
Some people like to keep a moderate amount of bottles around. They don't have room, or they don't want to, buy all the extra things. And if that's the case, you can buy one or the other. You can decide which one you like. The Aperol, it has more orange forward and it is sweeter.
Okay.
The Campari, so I like bitter. So I actually have Aperol and this because I just do. But I really like I like the bitter flavor. I keep saying it over and over again, but I like to drink just bitters and soda too. So I'm in favor of that. The sweet vermouth, I have a giant bottle of here because I also really like it. It is like a red wine. It has an herbal base. It has a sweetness to it. It's a little thick when you pour it because of the sugar. And then traditionally, a Negroni is gin. But since you're not a gin lover, I can tell you that there is the identical drink is made with bourbon. It's called a Boulevardier. My tongue isn't taking that well.
Okay.
It's called a Boulevardier. So a Negroni with gin. But if you don't like gin and you want to take that out, you got the
it would be
bourbon.
better to do it with bourbon than it would be to do it with vodka. Okay. Good to know.
I think you would. I mean, you could try. I've never actually tried it with vodka because I'm not a huge vodka lover.
Yeah. I don't know why I think because in my brain, I don't drink gin and tonic, so I drink vodka tonic, right? Like it's like a, that's what I've always done.
Yes.
I'm allergic to juniper.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Well,
really,
that was
it's,
not-
I'm like, it's really why it took me a long time to realize that's why it gives me raging headaches. Cause I was like, oh, I'm allergic to it. Okay, got it.
yes. Yeah.
I don't drink gin,
Interesting.
but we'll
Yeah,
make it
that
with
would-
bourbon.
Yes. But so I would
That's-
recommend it with bourbon. And then the other thing you should know is the Negroni that's getting all the attention right now. I'm just going to put this Leopold away. The Negroni that's getting a lot of attention right now, the Sbagliato, which means mistake in Italian, does not have bourbon or gin. Instead, it has sparkling wine.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it a little lighter, right? Because, this is pretty spirit heavy. So a Negroni has been the drink of chefs for decades.
Mhm.
And, I don't know what it says. Well, I know what it says about us. So at the end of a shift, you just want, I don't want the soda. I just want the alcohol. And also it's a very complex flavored drink. It has the bitter, the sweet, the alcohol. It has a lot of flavor going on the tongue. So chefs tend to really like that. And so I guess, I don't know, in the last decade or so, some bartender reached for the gin and picked up the sparkling wine instead, made the drink as a mistake, and which is what Sbagliato means in Italian. And so if you wanted to, you wouldn't even have to put the bourbon in. You could decide, you can make the bottled drink with just these guys. All right. In the recipe, I also give you the option of, I'm just going to forget the gin for now. Let's just play with the bourbon. If we make this in a bottle, you can top it off with some sparkling water, and then you can have a Boulevardier spritz, right? So you can either have it straight as a spritz, or you can have it Sbagliato.
Okay.
So once
You
again,
wouldn't put the wine necessarily in the bottle because that would do weird things.
exactly. Yeah. Well, wouldn't keep its bubbles, and it wouldn't be great. So you could bottle it like this and bring this on the side. These are harder. I can put a cork in a bottle of wine and save it for tomorrow night. These are harder to save. So
Yep.
that's why I do think of these more as like having friends over.
Yeah.
Or, it probably has happened once or twice that maybe I did one myself, but
That's fine.
yeah, we won't tell anybody. Nobody will know. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make mine as a bottled Boulevardier rather than a Negroni because I like it that way. And I'm glad that you do too. And I've lost my empty bottle. Here we go. Got too many bottles sitting around. So one thing you should know if you're going to make a bottled drink, so some people are making like bottled martinis, bottled other cocktails. When we shake or stir a cocktail on ice to chill it, we're also diluting it. And as we mentioned a little bit earlier, sometimes people don't like those high-end whiskeys because they're just too high proof. But add a little ice or water and the flavors bloom up and you can really taste them. So when we make a bottled cocktail like this one, especially such an alcohol forward one, we want to add some water to start. So this recipe, because it's a one part recipe, we're going to add a little less than 1 part water. All right. So I'm going to make a 750 ml bottle, and that's going to be about 5 ounces of water. So if you're going to make this bottled and you wanted to make just 2 drinks to have later tonight, let me think. Let's bring this down. You could do 3 ounces of water. And I have 3 ounces is going to be about a quarter cup. So a quarter cup might be a little easier measurement. So I'm going to pour it. I think I can do this without a funnel too. And then I could be wrong.
I like the bottle that you have.
It is a great bottle. I found this. It was a winter German, one of those German spiced sweet wines, a Glühwein, which it actually wasn't all that great, but the bottle was great.
But the bottle was great, right?
I liked the bottle a lot. So now I'm going to do the full recipe, as I said, which is 7 ounces. So you're going to do about 2.5 ounces.
Okay.
Of each. So I've got 7 ounces of my bourbon going in, which could also be gin if you wanted to do a straight Negroni.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so some bourbon.
All right. And then the same amount that you had for the bourbon, you're going to have the same amount of red vermouth, sweet vermouth.
Is that for me? That's
Oh, this is Kim. Is it the same amount of Campari too? Because that's what I
And
poured
it's-
first.
yes, and the same amount of Campari. Yep, you can't mess that one up.
okay.
And they're both red. I'm going to try my funnel this time because I did miss a little bit this time.
Our pourer has a funnel on it.
Yeah, we
Or-
have like a
or-
tiny little cup measuring thing.
Yeah. Ounce.
All right. And have you tried the Campari?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
I recommend just give it a little taste. You can either, do this and taste your thumb. That's a very kitchen way to taste something. I'm going to just pour a little bit out and see what you think.
Oh, yeah.
It was first good and then it was,
Well, I didn't know it. Well, I didn't know it was good. I just didn't know what it tastes like.
yeah.
It's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I think these herbal things were originally made to be like curatives, like when you're sick, you've got all the herbs and, but with such a high amount of alcohol in them.
We have a
Now,
place down the street that makes Aperol spritzes.
Aperol
yes,
And that's what they said. It used to be like a digestive.
yes, exactly. But I think the whole, everybody's appetite for things that are a little bit more on the bitter side has really gone up, which is why the Negronis are so popular too, the Aperol and the Negroni and all that. So now I can just put, if you had you could use one of your empty other bottles for this too. And I'm just going to give it a little turn and then I can store that in the freezer.
Okay, so just
It'll-
those things, water
That's it.
and those three things.
Yeah. And now if you wanted to serve this just as is, I like the bigger ice cube format. So I have one of those ice cubes. They melted a little bit. I forgot about that. They make these, I have this kind of bigger format ice cube tray. And, being bourbon drinkers, you understand you don't want to dilute it too much. If you've got more surface area on the outside of the ice cube, you're melting the ice cube too much. So with this bigger ice cube, I'm getting it cold without melting it too much. Now I can just pour myself a Boulevardier at any time that I want. And that is a little scary because I kind of want them a lot. And let me show you a fun little garnish if you want for this.
Okay.
So traditionally it could be an orange peel or a lemon peel. Doesn't have to be, actually, you don't have to have any garnish at all, but this is one of my favorites because it's so easy. I'm going to do it with this little orange is not happy. Let's see if I can get a piece of peel off of it. Okay, so I have a piece of orange peel and I'm just going to clean up the raggedy edges. The peeler made it look a little, there we go. So I've got a little rectangle. And now what I'm going to do is just cut on the diagonal to get a kind of a fancy piece. Like that.
I think we should show
And then I'm going to cut a little hole in the middle, like a little slit.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to cut from end to end all the way through. I'm just making a little opening in the center here, like that. And then when I pinch it like that, I can put it on the edge of the glass.
Yeah.
And it looks like a little sailboat.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Grace went to get us a thing of ice and I had forgotten, got this for
You
you.
got an event.
Oh, I had forgotten that somebody gave us these ice cube makers.
Four Roses.
It's
I
from
love
Four
that.
Roses. They're fancy rose ice cubes.
Oh, I like Four Roses too. I think I just
Yeah,
finished a bottle
I
of
did
Four
not
Roses.
even know. But I like this fancy sailboaty thing you've made.
And it's so easy. I'm going to see this. My orange is so dried up. It doesn't even want to sit on there. I'm going to just do it one more time with a lemon peel and just show you. So all I'm doing, I'm squaring off the edges. like that.
Like she's making the edges
And then I'm
up.
going to cut a diagonal on both sides.
Mhm.
I have kind of like an extended diamond shape there.
Yeah.
And then a little slit in the middle.
And then she,
So I've just got that little hole.
Mhm.
And now this definitely is working better than that. My sad orange. I think that orange came in a Christmas basket from one of my aunts.
Oh, see, that's
Oh,
so
cute.
fun. That's so
Yeah.
fancy.
It's so fancy. And, you know, bartenders like these little things that stick on the rims because now when I drink it, my nose is close to so I've got the aroma of the lemon or the orange.
Mhm.
Mm,
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm. It's pretty yummy.
I like that.
Yeah.
So the red vermouth helps balance out some of the bitterness of that.
Yeah.
The Campari.
Mhm.
But, you know, if the Campari is a little too bitter for you, there is that great option of getting Aperol.
Mhm.
And I noticed when I was at the stores this this end of year, there's even more and more and more of those orange Aperol like lookalikes. Like Aperol was starting to go up in price a little bit, and there's other ones coming in the lower. And I'm a firm believer in if you're making it mixed with all these things, you know, it doesn't need to be
No.
top shelf, right? Because you're mixing a lot.
Right.
Mm. Oh, I really like that. So how is your orange peel doing?
Mm. I think it's looking pretty good.
Oh yeah, you're getting there.
It's starting to,
So I'd say you're done when you can't see the sugar granules anymore.
okay, well, we can still kind of see them, but not much.
Not much, yeah.
How did you say to warm it up a little bit?
So I would give it little 20-second bursts in the microwave.
Okay.
So just put it in the microwave, little 20-second bursts, give it a stir and see if that's dissolved. And when you get there, you can put that all into your punch.
We're sitting in our living room, which is really 5 seconds away from our kitchen. But that's because we have this table out in our living room because it's been like the Christmas wrapping table and
Yes.
it was just easier to sit at this table.
Absolutely. It's the best. Well, there's no reason to be in the kitchen if you're making cocktails. You don't have to. Very early in the pandemic, there was kind of a famous bartender in LA who was doing some cocktail classes. And I said, my kids are in their early 20s and we all sat at the dining room table and made cocktails one day.
That's so fun.
They called for like every specialty alcohol you could ever call. I don't even know how much I spent at that point, but it was kind of worth it. It was like Benedictine and chartreuse and
why not, right?
Yeah, back then, why not? Yeah. Now I got a little more of a budget, but you know.
We were all stuck inside for a while, so
yes. It was back in the day of I'll show you my 4 just to give you an idea of how much more. It's even getting more and more. So if I left this overnight, I'd probably get more than maybe like a third of a cup of liquid off of that.
Okay.
Okay.
Because you're really looking to get that liquid kind of off of it.
Yeah, it's the liquid that you want. The peels will end up being discarded, or you can let them dry out because they're sugared and grind them up. You could do that too.
Oh yeah, now we have some liquid on it.
Yeah.
We did a 20-second and that gave us liquid, which made it a whole lot easier.
Yeah. And you know, that liquid will bring more liquid. So as soon as there is liquidity, I want to say. Yeah. Yeah. Mine are looking quite good.
Yeah, now these look pretty good too.
So, you know, this ingredient, you could put a little dash in your Boulevardier if you wanted to. Or you can put a little bit in the bottom of a champagne glass and pour some of that sparkling wine over it. And with a dash of bitters, that makes a champagne cocktail. It's delicious.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I really like that. Okay, you ready to move on to the espresso martini?
Sure.
Have you had one out at a restaurant or bar?
I have.
Mm-hmm.
She has not particularly.
Okay. And do you like espresso or do you like coffee?
I like coffee quite a bit. And she likes coffee also as long as it's decaf. She doesn't do caffeine. So
okay. So
but we did get some iced coffee. I think we got coffee instead of espresso because, you know.
Yeah. So you can also make your own decaf
but.
liqueur, coffee liqueur if you want to.
Fine. This-
Since you like to have it more, less caffeinated.
Okay.
I think that Kahlua has some caffeine in it, probably
Mhm.
not a lot. But yeah, if you got a decaf, like a coffee concentrate, that works really, really well.
Okay, that's
Um,
kind of what we have.
Okay, perfect. So let me get all my cocktails out of here. I have a cocktail shaker. Do you have a
Okay.
cocktail shaker?
We do.
Okay. So I teach a lot of these where people don't, and you can also use a ball jar. Just a jar with a lid that you can strain works fine too. So I have already in mine, I have ice,
Okay.
and we're going to, let's see, you're going to make 2 drinks. So you want to
Yep.
double yours in your shaker. So you will need 3 ounces of vodka. I love these little OXO measuring cups that have all these measurements on them.
Goodness.
But you can also use a traditional, jigger.
Okay.
But I am such a fan of these little OXO measuring cups. And my vodka. So I'm going to do 1.5 ounces.
So we would do 3.
And you're going to do 3. Mhm.
She went to get ice.
And then we're going to do equal parts of our Kahlua and espresso or coffee equivalent.
Okay.
And that works well too. So the recipe calls for about 2/3 of an ounce, which is not a measurement that I have on my jigger. So I'm just going to go with like the 3/4. And just go a little bit under it.
So would that mean we would use 1.5?
Yes. So about 1.5.
We're doing 2? Okay.
And then I just want to show you, I found also people keep talking about this. It's funny, I didn't realize how many coffee liqueurs are at the store now. I went to Total Wine. They have the Kahlua, of course. They have about 5 other ones. And then this one, Mr. Black, is supposed to be a little bit less on the sugary side, which the sugar gives me a headache, which is one of the reasons I like the Boulevardiers and drinks like that, because they don't have a lot of extra sugar in them. But I think they are all delicious. So you could, if you wanted to, you take some vodka and about a cup of ground decaf coffee.
Okay.
Let it steep for a couple weeks together. And then you can add a cup of sugar to that and mix it together, and you've got your own homemade decaf coffee liqueur.
Ooh, that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
That's probably
Yeah.
would be smart for us to do because of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a ton of caffeine in the Kahlua, but there might be enough that it would bother you. You never know. Okay, and now we shake. And the reason that we shake is to chill, but also dilute a little bit. So we want to get a good
Okay,
shake.
so you said vodka, Kahlua,
And coffee.
and coffee. Okay, just making sure.
So equal parts coffee and Kahlua. And it's usually twice the amount of vodka as the other 2. So you've got 2 parts.
Okay. Just making sure I was adding the right things to it.
You got it. So we played around a lot with these over the holidays while my kids have been home. We've tried adding a little bit of Bailey's or a little bit of creme de cacao to make like a chocolate espresso martini. There's lots of variations you can do. You want to shake until your shaker gets kind of frosty.
She was laughing at my shaking.
And that's also going to give us the really nice foam. So the protein in the coffee is what helps make it foamy. All right, now I have a coupe glass. So this one is a martini glass, the one that's the V shape. And this one is just a little bit rounder. It's called a coupe. I just love this glass. And I have some ice cubes in there to make my glass cold. So you can chill your glass if you'd like to. I'm going to pour that out. So now I have an empty cold glass. And we're just going to pour it in there.
Oh, the lids are too?
Oh, they must be. I don't know what they are.
And mine did not get a great amount of foam. I think that I had a lot of water from my ice in there. But if you got a nice head of foam, you can garnish if you want to with a couple of coffee beans. They should float on top. Did you get a good foam?
They're probably good as the coffee.
There's a little bit of foam.
Yeah, we got a little bit.
There's more foam as we poured it than there was when we first started.
I have more foam in my shaker that didn't want to come out. So let me just try to drain that out again. Because it's really nice with the foam on top.
Oh, yeah, look at that foam.
We had some foam in here too.
There we go. So now if you do have a little head of foam, you can float a coffee bean on top. You very commonly see them with 3 coffee beans on them.
Fancy.
So we like to say that's for health, wealth, and happiness. So who doesn't want to cheers to that? And
Right?
then the other little fancy thing you could do if you wanted to, you could get some decaf coffee powder. Mine is not decaf, but, and you could put it in a little strainer like that and just kind of shake it on top. So some people don't have coffee beans on hand at home and they don't want to buy them just for a garnish. So if you have a little coffee powder, you can do that
That's smart
instead.
too. A little fancy
Yeah.
coffee powder.
That's cute.
If you're going to go to all the trouble of shaking a fancy drink together,
Yeah.
it's nice to have a little garnish like your lemon peel. And that lemon peel could potentially also work, for this. So
That's fun.
cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers.
Mm.
She went and
Oh,
got
yeah.
our fancy glasses.
Yes, I love them. They look great. Yours looks like it has a nice foam to it.
Yeah.
Mhm. It does seem to have a pretty good foam. If we had coffee beans, they would likely float.
They would, yep.
Mhm.
I have to say, this is the first time I've tried the Mr. Black in an espresso martini, and
Mhm.
it's very dry. It's very not sweet. So I probably would add a little sugar syrup to this one. So
Mhm.
sometimes people like to have them before dinner, so they don't want to have it too desserty. And I think that's where the Mr. Black comes in.
Mhm.
I want mine, I want the sugar to lift the flavor up for me. So I'm going to shake mine with a little bit of,
Well, because probably you want it to be like, if it's going to be a dessert cocktail, or if it is a dessert cocktail.
mhm.
And we didn't have Kahlua, but we used this.
We use bourbon cream.
Bourbon cream.
Yeah,
It's so good.
it's really
I
good.
like bourbon cream.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
What is that?
Yeah,
So is
I
that
don't
like Bailey's, but like bourbon?
It's kind of like Bailey's, but
Yeah,
it's
I don't
bourbon.
like
Yeah,
Kahlua or Bailey's, but I like bourbon cream.
she
so
likes bourbon cream.
we do
So,
that.
but it's pretty tasty.
Pretty tasty.
Have you tried Screwball?
Mm.
The
No?
peanut butter?
It's that peanut butter one. It's the peanut butter.
Oh yeah. We
Have you
had
tried it? Yeah, it's good.
Yes, I have.
I was
had
like,
that.
I know, I've tried it.
Yes.
So that is, I can tell you that is delicious in this as well. So if you skipped the coffee flavored liqueur or I don't know why you'd ever skip a bourbon cream. That doesn't sound likely to do, but you could substitute Screwball too, because it's really delicious. The peanut butter and the
Oh, I bet
yeah,
that would be
coffee.
really good. And
Yeah.
yeah. Good. in a dessert.
Delicious.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just go back to, we'll finish off the punch. So I have all of this, this beautiful oleosaccharum that I'm going to add to mine now.
Okay.
And I am not
And
going to
you
be
just add it like, you just
Yep.
pull it out and let it, and mix it in there.
You could use a spoon to keep the
It's not fermented.
peels from going in.
Mhm.
And I'm just letting all of that go out. And like I said, now the interesting thing about this is you can still get another batch of oleosaccharum out of these same peels. You can put another 1/4 cup of sugar on them and let them sit overnight, and you'll get a second, slightly less intense, but you'll still get a nice flavor from it. Or if you wanted to, you could put them on a baking sheet and dry them out in your oven and grind them up in a little coffee grinder or a high-speed blender, and you've got really yummy candied orange peelish, fancy powder. You could add that to like brownies or put it on top of a cake icing or something like that. All right.
Okay.
So I didn't bring a punch cup per se. I did inherit my mother's punch bowl and her punch cups, which I think I've only used once for fun. So I have another little coupe here. I'm just going to pour some in. And I would put one of those, oh gosh, I wish I had a Four Roses. I really like your house. Can I come stay?
Sure.
The Four Roses ice cube would be so pretty in that, wouldn't it? That would be the best thing ever.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we have, oh, here we are.
Yeah, bro.
I was like, do we have the lid somewhere?
Mm,
That's good.
I really like that. The sweetness of the oleosaccharum really changed the flavor up from the, you know, how the tea can be a little tannic or whatever.
That is
Um,
cute in there.
So
It's-
cute.
I bet it's adorable in
It is
there.
cute in there.
Good.
Is that like a single mold, a single cube mold?
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, I want
we
a
have
whole
two
tray
of
of
them.
those.
We have two of them. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. We went to some
We
bourbon
went-
thing last year during Derby
We
season,
went to a bourbon event for Derby.
Mhm.
and they were giving
Oh,
away those
man.
ice cubes. It
Smells so
smells
good.
really good, and it tastes.
I went
pretty
to a
tasty.
Maker's Mark event out here during the pandemic. One of the fancy restaurants had it outside on their patio. And I got, you know, those Nalgene water bottles. I got two that say Maker's Mark on them
Oh, fun.
and a pen, but I did not get an ice cube.
But
Yeah.
not a Four Roses.
It was, I mean, it was a really great event. We got it as like a to-go present.
Yeah,
That's
it
amazing.
was like in our little basket or
Yeah,
something.
so we had several things.
Mhm.
We had jigger.
Where are
Mm.
you in California?
I'm in Mountain View, which is halfway between San Jose and San Francisco.
Okay, I have an aunt that lives in Livermore.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
And then
Nice.
another aunt and uncle that live down in Coto de Caza, which is like, yeah, Orange County-ish, but they're way south.
So that is a really interesting coincidence. My husband's closest first cousin and his wife live in Coto de Caza.
Mhm.
That is not a big place.
No,
No.
it is not a big place.
Yeah. They may know of each other.
Yeah,
That's
they
fun.
might.
Yes. My
Same last-
uncle does. What's the golf course?
Weston.
No,
Yeah, it is. It's right here.
is it?
Hold on.
I don't know. My uncle is manages a golf course, owns a golf course, does something with golf course. What is it?
Western golf. and
Western.
Western Golf Properties. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, They're golf people.
We haven't been out there. They usually come over to the coast and meet us when we're there. And, but you know, they talk about, they just drive around in their golf cart all day. That's all they do. So,
Mhm.
yeah, sounds pretty
we
good.
have this like trip planned where at some point we will fly into Northern California and we want to drive all the way down the coast to Southern. I was like, we have people at both ends, so we might as well just drive all the way down the coast.
Yeah. all the way
I
down.
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Sounds
Highly.
like-
It
I don't
is
know where Trenton is.
one of the most beautiful drives. You know, it's hard to go. It's hard to spend the money and the inconvenience of being on a plane these days when it's just so pretty here. So
Yes.
highly recommend it. Livermore is just absolutely beautiful. You know, if you love your aunt, that's a wine country.
Yep.
Mhm. That's what she
And,
keeps asking us. I grew up in Oklahoma and she stayed in
Mhm.
Oklahoma for a long time. She moved out there probably 6 years ago.
Mhm.
So she's always telling me to come and visit, but we haven't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't made it yet. We were like on the cusp, and then of course,
And of course,
COVID. So
COVID.
we haven't done much.
Yes, everything
Yeah.
shut down for a while, but yeah,
That's right.
wonderful. Well, it was really fun to shake up a few drinks with y'all tonight.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you,
too.
Chef
Thank you.
Peggy. We appreciate it. I appreciate you doing this. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah,
Now we have
great stuff.
new
Well,
beverages to bring to places.
fantastic. Well, happy New Year.
You
Enjoy
as well.
all your bourbons and whiskeys, and maybe we'll see you again.
Sounds
All right.
good.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye.
Bye.